Ray Nelson's Facts and Yarns, and he has this page about Bohemia Sharp, and all the stories refer to him like as a hermit. Now here in 1913, the newspaper, the Sentinel, under Albert Bede, writes an article, "Old Man Sick and No One to Care," talks about his acquaintances being worried. Now here it is, it talks about some friends of his in Cottage Grove. He had a job as a janitor or something in his last couple of years. He was too sick to do the job. His friends, the Griggs brothers, David and his brother, they did his work for him and they gave him the money. So things like that. And then the Sentinel has this article, "The next week, Sharp case aroused sympathy. Hardly had the Sentinel been placed at the post office last week before readers began calling up about the case of Bohemia Sharp." There were a lot of people who were worried about it. So I don't buy the idea that no one attended his funeral. Certainly not if it was in Cottage Grove. Now here in 1914, when they send him to the poorhouse, they write this nice article about all of his accomplishments and achievements and things, and there's buried in here is that he's sent to the county poor farm, and they call him quaint, which, God forbid anybody ever calls me quaint. I'm sure he would not have been called quaint. Now this is 1917, when from the poorhouse he was committed to Oregon State Hospital, and that picture there is Oregon State Hospital in 1920, and that's about what it looked like when Bohemia Sharp was in there, and again 1,500 people in there. Now I worked for about 25 years in community mental health, and one of the things I did was I was an outreach counselor, and I would work with weird, quirky people, quaint people. And basically, most people don't have to be sent to an institution as long as you can make sure that they eat right, get care, that they're somewhat clean and they're not pestering their neighbors, and they're getting some sleep. Most people can do fine. And Meals on Wheels is a great invention for keeping people in their homes. But they sent him up to the poorhouse. He only lasted about two and a half months up there. And Bohemia is dead. I left these where, I'm sorry they're not blown up where you can read them, but you can read them in the PDF. The Oregonian covered his death. They had the headline, I just thought, "Bohemia is dead." And over here the Sentinel has quaint Bohemia Sharp passes into the beyond. Now the Sentinel, neither one of them have anything about a funeral, anything about what happens to his remains. Now, here's his death certificate, and I'm indebted to the Oregon State Hospital Museum and Phyllis Zagers, who worked with it. She helped me do this research, and she found that, for example, you might have heard that thousands of inmates at Oregon State Hospital, when they died, they cremated their remains, and they just put them in canisters, and they were left in the basement, and this old building that got just filthy. They're going through trying to find folks' families. But that didn't happen. They did not cremate Bohemia Sharp. His death certificate says right there, his body was taken to Portland, Oregon. Now, why would the body of Bohemia Sharp been taken to Portland, Oregon? The funeral home's still in business, so yeah, I contacted them. They don't have any record of transporting it, but I think they did. At that time, 1917, he had no family, he was penniless, he was a ward of the state. The most likely thing from Oregon State Hospital, I think, happened is his body was sold under the table to the medical school in Portland. I think what happened to the body of Bohemia Sharp is that he wound up at the medical school. It's the most logical thing. Maybe he totally turned his back on Cottage Grove and told him that I don't want to go back to Cottage Grove under any circumstances. Thing is, staff don't listen to people in mental hospitals. I mean, he could have said that, I don't want to go back to Guys Grove 100 times, and that would not have made that much of a difference. But I think he knew